The Phantom Thieves of Hearts make their return onto the main stage in Persona 5 Strikers, bringing with them every ounce of style as seen in Persona 5 and then some. The game, having originally released in Japan on February 20th, 2020, has made its awaited debut in the West, releasing on the PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and PC on February 23rd, 2021. While it is technically a direct sequel to Persona 5 Strikers being co-developed by Koei Tecmo has Strikers adopting a gameplay style similar to that found in the Dynasty Warriors series, helping the game from being cast too heavily in the shadow of its predecessor. This video will remain spoiler-free for story events found in Persona 5 and will only be explicitly speaking on the plot of Persona 5 Strikers leading into the beginning of the first jail. This video will also be taking a look into the combat system at large. If you do not wish to be spoiled on any of these topics, please stop watching now. You've been warned. Picking up about 4 months after the events of Persona 5, Strikers sees Ren Amamiya returning to Tokyo to spend his summer vacation with the Phantom Thieves. While everyone is catching up in the loft of LeBlanc, Futaba tells them of a new app that is launched called Emma. Emma is an AI that doubles both as a virtual assistant and some sort of social media platform. With Futaba having convinced everyone to download the app, the group disbands until the following day, where the thieves split up to get supplies for a camping trip. While in Shibuya to buy camping supplies, Ren, Morgana, and Ryuji spot a large group of people crowding around someone that Ryuji identifies as the idol Alice Hiragi and insists on joining the crowd. Alice is in Shibuya promoting a store that carries a clothing line that she produced and is giving away cards that have a keyword on them to become friends with her on the Emma app. One is given to Ren, and upon entering it into his phone, the trio is transported into the metaverse, along with a few others who input the keyword. The team watches as shadows dressed as correctional officers steal jewels from within the others, which are later revealed to be the manifestation of their desires. This version of the metaverse uses jails ruled over by monarchs in supplement of palaces and palace rulers as they appear in Persona 5. The major difference between the two is that monarchs use the metaverse as a means of stealing the desires of anyone they can trick into entering their jail, and when a person's desire is in the possession of a monarch, it can be twisted however the monarch sees fit. Alice has been stealing desires in an effort to boost her brand, which has been making her fans become completely obsessed with her. While in this jail, the three Phantom Thieves come across a character that calls herself Sophia, who is an AI remembering nothing other than the simple command of be humanity's companion. After escaping from the jail, all the thieves regroup but are accosted by a member of public security soon after. Enter Zenkichi Hasegawa. Zenkichi points out the similarities between various cases of abnormal behavior across Japan recently, Alice Hiragi's sudden spike in obsessive fans, and the still recent change of heart instances to the group. Zenkichi could very easily pin these instances on the thieves, but does not believe that they're the ones causing the problem, giving them the ultimatum to either prove themselves innocent or get arrested. From this point on, the premise is very simple. Uncover the secret of Emma's connection to the metaverse while winning over the opinion of the public as well as public security. Overall, this setup is an effective way to get players invested in the story early, as the characters they're playing as are immediately being put in a very dire situation. However, Emma's relation to the metaverse, at least at the beginning of the game, feels somewhat ham-fisted and rushed in its implementation. This is a point that becomes more fleshed out over Striker's roughly 35-hour runtime, and seems to have been carried out in a way to give the sense of mystery around Emma, which itself works well. But with the main cast's general acceptance of the return of the metaverse, and with that it being embraced very passively, this story thread during the first section of Strikers would benefit from more character reaction at the very least. Time management and turn-based battles are aspects of modern mainline Persona games that seem like a given at this point, but with Strikers, the mold is broken and predominantly boasts an action-packed beat-em-up gameplay style while still retaining some of the gameplay elements common in the precursing games. While in a jail, players can take control of 4 of the Phantom Thieves at a time, but must have Joker present in the party. Approaching enemies such as the previously mentioned correctional officer shadows from behind will give the opportunity to ambush them, in which whatever character is being controlled will rip off the officer's mask, unveiling a number of shadows from the Shin Megami Tensei series. In the PlayStation 4 version of the game, players can press the square button to use a standard attack, and if the button is successively pressed, more attacks will be dished out. Pressing the triangle button after some of these attacks will initiate a special attack, which will sometimes be a physical attack made by the party member or an elemental attack made by their persona. Thankfully in this game, Joker falling in battle will not immediately cause a game over, so in that regard it's not necessary to prioritize his safety over that of the other thieves. There is a benefit to keeping him around though, as he still holds the power of the wild card, meaning that he is the only playable character in the game to use multiple personas. Using personas and their skills is exactly the same as in Persona 5. Select personas are weak to some elements, strong to others, and can use elemental and buffing skills by using SP. How shadows react to these skills is a little different though. Using an element to a standard enemy who is weak against it will still prompt an all-out attack in most cases, but there are larger boss shadows that have gauges that take many attacks to deplete. Critical hits can also deplete this gauge, and once all the shield icons have been broken, an all-out attack can be initiated on them, dealing a considerable amount of damage. These gauges can also be depleted by using a newly implemented form of attack, Phantom Dashes. In most cases, when battles are initiated, players can find objects in the environment to interact with that have the ability to strike enemies with elemental damage without the use of SP. More often than not, these objects will be useful against an enemy found in the environments they reside in, and can greatly help change the tide of battle in harder fights. A variation of Showtime attacks has also been added, which gives every character a gauge of their own that is filled by defeating enemies and can also be filled by using special items. The Confidant system found in Persona 5 is dropped entirely and replaced with something called the Bond system. During various story events and after battles, experience will be earned going towards getting Bond points that can be cashed in to reap a wide variety of benefits, ranging from increasing all characters' max HP to lengthening the effects of stat buffs and debuffs. Confidants being absent does mean that the boost applied from Persona Fusions works in a different way that would take too much time to dive into in this video, but the Bond system is a very welcome addition as it gives players control over aspects of the gameplay that can cater to a variety of playstyles. Gameplay itself is a lot of fun in smaller interactions, but in more high-stakes battles, it's beneficial to conserve HP and manipulate a boss's weakness or getting criticals, which does make battles feel one-dimensional at times, as the most effective way to win in boss battles is to spam a skill that the boss is weak to until their gauge is depleted, use an all-out attack, and do it all over again. This system complemented Persona 5's turn-based battle system because exploiting bosses' weaknesses never guaranteed a win, as they still have their turns in battle. But in Strikers, skills are able to be used one after another with very little buffer time, meaning that if enough SP is conserved, or enough SP restoring items are used, boss battles feel like they're over before they start. A large part of what helped Persona 5 claim its personality was its commitment to its aesthetic. Striking visuals paired with an acid jazz-centric soundtrack made it instantly recognizable, even if maybe to an unfortunate degree. Many of Shoji Meguro's Persona 5 compositions make their way onto Striker's soundtrack, but Hiromu Akaba and Ayana Hira of Koei Tecmo, as well as Atsushi Kitajo of Atlus, are given the reins to bring Striker's soundtrack to life. Tracks like Home and the title theme Strikers have a strong sense of familiarity, but Koei Tecmo's flavorful presence is felt in spades with the number of battle themes that appear in the game. New tracks like Counter-Strike featuring vocals from the familiar Rini Naizumi receive just as much love and attention as remixes of returning tracks like Blooming Villain. It feels hard to talk about Strikers without acknowledging how it expanded upon what Persona 5 laid out visually in terms of its UI. Navigating through menus never felt like a chore and was eye candy through and through. Persona 5's art director turned interface supervisor Masayoshi Sudo assists Junko Tano and their team in steering Strikers menus in a slightly different but truly more engaging way. For every individual menu, players can find the Phantom Thieves lurking in the shadows, with admittedly more effort being put into some than others. Even with this, they go above and beyond in making something as simple as equipping a new protector feel visually interesting and memorable. Another thing worth noting is the English localization of Strikers. As revealed in an upload to the English voice actor for Morgana, Cassandra Lee Morris' YouTube channel, recording for Strikers was slated to start in April of 2020, which was unfortunately made complicated with the outbreak of COVID-19 worldwide. The workaround for recording voice lines was for all voice actors to receive the same equipment to record with from home. Thankfully, this effort gave players outside of Japan the chance to experience Strikers, but it is worth mentioning that because of this setback, there is at times a noticeable difference in the environments that the voice actors were recording in.
I suppose it'd at least be handy if we ran into any trouble while camping.
Your appearance is ironclad evidence of this.
As well as the mastering of some clips.
Huh? That was a suggested event? Wait, for real? Alice is here?
Given the circumstances, it's entirely understandable why things turned out the way they did, but it is something that is very noticeable from time to time and feels important to mention. For players that enjoyed Persona 5, there's no question of whether or not to pick up Persona 5 Strikers. Expanding upon the Phantom Thieves and seeing them interact in different settings up against new threats is a delight. Some hiccups with the gameplay may leave more to be desired at times, but these instances hardly take away from the experience as a whole. With the game having been added to the Nintendo Switch and on Steam with the still recently re-released Persona 4 Golden, the Persona series is becoming more accessible than ever, and if you've been looking to hop in, there's no time like the present.